In this demonstration, we'll go over the invoice processing capabilities of SciGen SciCapture. So the first demo we'll go through is an example of point-and-click indexing, where we can actually accomplish line item processing through the product. So I can go ahead and either scan from a copier or scan from a Direct Connect scanner, pick up my batch of invoices, and the product will go ahead and import the invoices, do the splitting for me from an invoice perspective, and when I'm done with importing or capturing via scanner, I can move on to the index module. So now what's going on behind the scenes here is the product is actually pre-processing the invoices, searching for specific terms and patterns, as well as converting to clickable text all the information on the invoice. So as you see, it takes a minute. It's going through processing, looking for these expressions. And when it's complete, it's going to give me the opportunity to go through and point and click to process these invoices from start to finish. So you'll notice there's a couple terms that are highlighted. So what the technology does, it goes through and looks for anything that looks like an invoice number pattern. So in this example, I'll hover over my invoice number. You can see that the conversion engine picked up a bunch of strange characters in that invoice number. Note that these are fairly low quality scans, but what I want to show you is when I click on the invoice number, between the time I click and the time it populates the field, I actually strip out all the erroneous characters. So it gives me a nice clean invoice number population. Now for invoice date, you can see the same functionality works. Click on my date, populates my field, and then it gives me the opportunity to click on a fax number. And what we're going to do with the fax number is actually run a database lookup and bring back the vendor name. Okay, so it gives me a nice, simple, standardized way to always populate vendor. Now I'm going to get into my line item processing. So what you're going to see here is I can actually go through, click on my items. So I clicked on my my item number, my quantity. I'll click on my unit price and my extended price. And then I can click my little add record functionality to go to my next line item. Okay, and I can tab through my headers again, come in, click on my item, my quantity, and just go through and process my invoices in this manner until I finish out and I'm ready to go on to the next invoice. So what's happening with this information as it's being populated, I have the ability at the end of the process to go and export this to a number of widely accepted formats like CSV, database output, so I can really connect it into my accounts payable system. But I can also send the images and metadata to another back-end system for search and retrieval. So let's take, for example, you're using SharePoint or FileBound or OpenText Alchemy. You can send the images and maybe just the invoice date, the vendor, to that repository so you can search and bring up the invoices at a later time. And you can output the line item information into your accounts payable system. So we give you some real flexibility to go through, process these documents from start to finish, and have your data available. And you can see when I go to my next invoice, I'm going to go through the same exact process. Go through, find my information, and then I can go through and process my line items again. Okay. So this is an example of an interactive process that'll let me do line item detail. Let's go ahead and exit and go into an automated example. So now let's go ahead and use the same set of invoices, but I'm going to pick a different document template or workflow template. And in this example, we're going to come in here and I'm going to go ahead and pick my full auto invoice processing example, and we're going to bring up the same exact batch of documents. We'll go ahead and import these, and you're going to see something a little bit different happen. So now we're actually using the expression matching capabilities of SciCapture to parse the OCR text automatically find the invoice number, the invoice date, the total, the vendor, the fax number, all that different information, and auto process it. Okay. So now the first screen that I'm going to be presented with is our quality assurance screen. And what the quality assurance screen does, it gives me a nice pretty spreadsheet view of the results of the automated process. Okay, be done here in just a second, and you'll see that it pops in, and there you go. Okay, so the vendors aren't yet populated. I can either run the DB lookups automatically during the index processing, or I can run them on all items right here in the interface. And you can see it brings back all my different vendors based on fax number, phone number, or some other criteria that we can pluck off the page. And you can see here that it was fairly successful, and we'll preach anywhere from 65, 75% that we can pluck off the info. And I'll tell you again that these are 200 DPI images, so they're not the highest quality images I can get. So we did a very good job on populating the information. And what I can do is come into these individual fields. I can tab through. Okay, so if I have changes to make, I can do that. I can check my data. In this example, I didn't find a total, so I have the ability to use my magnifier glass, come down here and say, okay, this was 6888, and I'll just keep tabbing through my fields. This is Linux. Okay, so there were a few items I missed here, and I have the ability, like I said in QA view, to come through, correct, or enter any information that couldn't be automatically populated. And we'll go through this one. Invoice date, let me double click here, is 8/27/08. Okay, and finally the total 888.39. So once I'm done and everything looks good, I click my close batch button, and now the next few steps are going to be fully automated. We're going to go through, we're going to convert these to fully searchable text, and then we're going to post them into SharePoint 2010. Now, when we post to SharePoint 2010, we give you total control in how you build library, folder, and file naming schemes. And in this particular example, if I come in here and we'll refresh, because it automatically created my invoices library for me. And then the way I set everything up is that I want it to automatically build a vendor folder. So upon the first scan of an invoice from a vendor, it'll auto create this, and then from then on it'll just drop the invoices into the folder. Okay, so if I click on Acme Pacific Repairs, there's my invoice, and I chose to name it vendor-invoice number. Now I could combine those fields in any way to build folders and subfolders, as well as custom file naming schemes, and then auto-populate the fields. Okay, so this is just a basic overview, just touching on the capabilities of SciCapture. Note that we do also have a C# scripting engine within the product that'll let you do all types of custom validations and custom coding as well. So if you have any questions, contact your reseller, or you can send an email to sales@scigen.com. Thanks.